Back in 1993, the World Foundation for Natural Science began to warn the world about the dangers of microwave technology. And today I'm glad to say that I'm joined by scientist and microwave expert Barrie Trower. Barrie, thank you for joining us.
It's my pleasure. It really is my pleasure.
I understand you have a wealth of experience with microwaves. Can you begin by explaining to us how you began your career in microwave technology?
Yes, of course. In 1960, I was in the Royal Navy, and I worked partly with the underwater bomb disposal unit, partly with microwave warfare, and some of the other time with radar. Microwaves were involved in all of those three different areas. So, whilst I was in the Royal Navy, I trained in all aspects of microwave technology. And as anybody will tell you that's been in the forces, the training you receive is second to none. You practice it, you talk about it all day, you sleep it. So since 1960, I have been involved in all aspects of microwave technology. After that, a part of my job, because I had microwave expertise, was to question captured spies during the Cold War, when Russia and America were within seconds of global nuclear war. And microwaves by then were really sophisticated stealth weapons. And a part of my job was to find out from any spies who had been captured what the current knowledge was in that part of the world. Since then, I've taught advanced physics, which of course involves microwave lectures and technology. I was commissioned by the Police Federation to write the safety report on their microwave equipment twice. The last one was the updated one. And I have had a series of papers published, which are all on the internet. And currently, I travel the world free of charge, trying to advise governments, councils, people, royalty, anybody, about the sensible way to use microwaves and not the dangerous way, which involves children, animals being harmed.
Thank you. Just for the benefit of people who aren't fully aware, in what walks of life nowadays could you expect to encounter microwaves?
Microwaves are used instead of radio waves for all communication systems. Your mobile telephone or cell phone uses microwaves. The microwave towers are almost on every street corner. Along the motorway, you have the emergency services, microwave transmitters. Yeah. The microwaves are now everywhere. And microwaves succeeded radio waves because microwaves will penetrate buildings, that they will go through concrete, brick, anything, whereas radio waves won't. You need an aerial on the roof for radio waves, but for microwaves you don't. They will just go straight through your house. And of course, what people don't understand is if they're going straight through your house, they're also going straight through you.
And is that dangerous? We're told by the government that they're safe. Is there scientific proof to show that they're not safe?
There are some 8,300 papers, to my knowledge, going back to 1971, where it was proven in government documents that low-level microwaves will cause injury. The main symptom for microwave sickness, it is usually a suppression of the immune system first, followed by neurological problems where the brain is being affected, depression, suicidal tendencies, you will have more colds, more coughs, longer colds, longer coughs. And then at the other end of the line, if you are unfortunate, lymphoblastic leukemia or something in that area, it affects, in order of people, it is always the embryo and children who are affected most seriously and first, followed by women, without being sexist, because they have very complicated hormonal systems that are affected by microwave technology. Then usually the sick and the elderly, and finally fit young men. So there is in fact an established pattern for microwave sickness.
And you mentioned cancers. Are we seeing an increase in the number of cancers?
Oh yes,
nowadays?
and going back to your previous question, there is absolute proof. There are, to my knowledge, to date, there are 4 High Court judgments proving that low-level microwaves will cause cancer. There are 12 epidemiological studies showing that people who live around transmitters, particularly within 500 meters, will get more cancer, more neurological and psychiatric illnesses than people who don't. And there are, to my knowledge, 20 if you count my latest one, there are 19 published legal judgments, not high courts, but legal judgments from mayors, councils, magistrates, ordering transmitters to be taken down, where it is believed that they have caused cancer to the local population. So there is lots of proof, and 2 of the epidemiological studies, and by that I mean, for anyone who's not sure of the word, a study for about 10 years, studying all of the doctors' records, all of the populations. 2 of them were carried out by the industry itself on its own product. And its own conclusion was that these microwaves can cause cancer. So there is plenty of proof, government proof, legal proof, research proof. There is enough proof as to win high court cases, and people are.
Can I just clarify then? The industry's own research has shown that their product, mobile phones, Wi-Fi, transmitters, cause cancer.
Oh, absolutely. It's the most famous one was the ECLOG, known as the ECLOG report, and their conclusion, it was carried out by T-Mobile, and their conclusion was that these microwaves can trigger the cancer promoters and cancer initiators in the body. And the industry's, one of the industry's other research projects showed that microwaves affected children to the point where children would lose sleep, because they can activate the brain. The microwaves can accelerate and activate the brain. And children would lose sleep. And published research in Scientific American Mind actually shows that when children lose sleep, they can become depressed and suicidal very, very quickly. In fact, I can tell you one story, if I may.
Yes, please.
When I was in South Africa speaking, a teacher of 30 years, and this is on the internet, a teacher of 30 years was the speaker behind me. And he said that in South Africa, he said childhood suicides were unknown. Misbehaviour to the extent of severe aggression was unknown in South Africa. And he said as soon as the transmitter went up near his school, they started to have psychiatric problems with the children. And he said, today, he said, all of my children, all 30 in my class, are now on Ritalin for poor behaviour. The whole class is on Ritalin.
That's incredible.
Absolutely. When you look at all of the experiments, in fact, we looked at the World Health Organization database a couple of years ago on all of the experiments, the ones that showed nothing and the ones that did show things. And the overall result was that 80%, 8 out of 10 of the papers on the World Health Organization database showed from low-level continuous microwave irradiation cancers, an increase in cancers for people living near transmitters, microwave sickness and neurological problems. 8 out of 10. And there will always be experiments done properly that show nothing. But overall, 8 out of 10 do show something.
So if the WHO's own library of research shows that 8 out of 10 studies confirm that mobile phones, Wi-Fi, cordless phones, etc., are dangerous, what is their stance then?
The World Health Organization were challenged by the European Parliament to make a decision on the health of the world concerning all of this. And in the written reply, which I have from the European Parliament, the World Health Organization said that they will not comment on the effect on adults until 2015. They only started studying children in 2009, last year. So they will not be able to comment on the effect on children, possibly for another 15 to 20 years. So the World Health Organization will say nothing on adults until 2015 and nothing on children probably until 2020, 2025. So there is absolutely no guidance from the WHO.
Why are children more at risk? Are they more at risk?
Yeah, as I said earlier, it's always the children that suffer first. A lot of people make the mistake in believing that children are small adults. And unlike medication, where you have an adult dose and a children's dose, with microwaves, there is the adult dose, but there is no known safe dose of microwave irradiation anywhere in the world published for a child. And the reason is, and embryos are a special case after this, if you wish to ask about embryos. If we look at the average infant in school, or small child in school, and I'll only concentrate on just a couple of areas of the body.
Yeah.
The immune system of a child has soft bones, so the microwaves penetrate the bones, no trouble at all. And microwaves are attracted to water, which is most of what bone marrow is. The immune system of a child takes 18 years to develop. And the first thing we know from microwave irradiation is that it attacks the immune system. So with children who are not small adults, they are neurologically and physiologically immature adults. The immune system of children is being damaged before it is anywhere near up and running. The nervous system that runs through the body has 122 layers of protein. There's a system of protein synthesis that lays 122 layers around the nervous system. It takes 22 years for this to fully develop. So all through a child's development, what you have is the microwaves affecting the protein synthesis of this system. Now, goodness only knows what's going to happen. We are probably going to get an epidemic of the muscular dystrophy type diseases later on in life for these children because of a damaged myelin sheath or insulating coating around their nervous systems. The other, what I think is the most serious aspect of a child's development, excuse me, there are experiments that show the ovarian follicles in young girls. Now, unlike boys who produce sperms as and when they're required on a daily basis, young girls are born with all of the 400 eggs they are going to need to develop into fully blown eggs and children. Now, we know that microwaves affect the ovarian follicles and can affect the ovarian eggs. We know that the microwaves, there are papers on this, can cause genetic damage. Now, if you think of a young girl at school, she's sitting here and she has the Wi-Fi set transmitting straight through the uterus into the ovaries. Now, if the young girl damages the ovarian eggs, and we're not going to know this for another 15 years, if the ovarian eggs are damaged, these are irreparable. They can never ever be repaired. The mitochondrial DNA in girls is irreparable. So when that girl, if she has a daughter, that daughter will carry the genetic damage that has been caused by the microwaves. And when she has a daughter, that daughter will carry the same disease, and her daughter, and her daughter. So we are now not saying we're risking this generation, we are risking the future generations of all of the children in the world from genetic damage. And that's a scary prospect.
That's extremely frightening.
It is.
So to clarify that, the eggs cannot repair the mitochondrial DNA.
No.
And so if a girl grows up with a genetic defect, she will pass it on to her daughter.
Yes.
And on, and on,
and on, and
so
on, until there is no more female line left in that family.
And this is surely a good enough reason to remove Wi-Fi from schools. And
Wi-Fi should be wiped out of schools at a stroke today.
Why
to protect all of the children. In fact, a really good experiment, and you were there when I spoke, Doctor, at Swindon. I mentioned a really clever study carried out in Estonia, where two professors, and this was published in the Australasian Journal for Environmental Health, it was published in there. They took a whole country, Estonia, and they looked at all of the cancers and all of the people and all of the health, two professors. Then the mobile industry moved in, and then years later they looked at the cancers again, and they found an increase of all of the main types of cancer, and their conclusion was that the telecommunications industry was responsible. And they also said a very interesting sentence, which I've since read in other papers, that women are more susceptible than men. A, because of the breast tissue, and B, because women have much more complicated hormonal systems the reason for which isn't scientifically fully understood yet. We're not clever enough to understand all of these miracles that go on inside the female body. But they are obviously being disrupted. Women do suffer more from men. They do get, as we showed in Berlin here, a 7-fold increase in breast cancer. We're not sure why, and the reason we're not sure why, if I may go on, is that no safety tests were done on cell phones before they were given to the general public. Not a single safety test was done. Unlike drugs or anything else, it has to pass a safety test. Not a single test was done. This is the test now. Every single embryo, every single lady, every single child is now a part of this global experiment, which is showing what it is showing, that we are failing to protect the entire planet. And that is the problem.
Okay, Barry, so we know that microwaves damage children. What are the effects on developing babies and on embryos?
Embryos are a special case for two reasons. One is that they are the smallest type of human being. And with microwave irradiation, generally for the communication system, the smaller you are, the more radiation you absorb, because the nearer you are to the size of the areole that would receive it. And the embryo is specifically the size that can absorb quite a lot of the radiation. That is the first thing. The second is, excuse me, the second is, and I'm going to use an analogy here, because I think it points out what the real problem is. If you could imagine, I'm going to talk about the embryo's brain. If you could imagine leaving here and going back to your house and picking up a magic telephone book that had the telephone numbers of every single person in Germany. Now imagine you pick up a telephone book of every single person in the world, with their cell phones, home phones, every office phones, every single person in the world. And then imagine you could push a button and all of these telephones would be dialed at the same time. That is roughly the number of connections going on in an embryo's brain every single second. That number. Wow. It is a phenomenal amount of connections with the most incredible accuracy. And if you then imagine, if that's just the brain, what about the spinal cord and all of the organs? Now, if you expose an embryo to microwave irradiation, what you are doing is you are giving the brain thousands of millions of minuscule electric shocks every single second. So if a pregnant lady uses a cell phone, the microwaves are going into the body, they will travel through the body, straight through the embryo, and if it's an ordinary cell phone, you would have roughly 1,800 million electric shocks a second, every second, going through the embryo. So they are a very special case, and the world should really take note that embryos, whatever happens, must be protected from microwave irradiation.
And what is a safe dose for an embryo to absorb?
There is no safe dose of microwave irradiation for any child anywhere in the world. No safe dose at all, not one. There is no safe dose.
Why are schools persisting in Wi-Fi if they know it's a risk?
Ignorance. It's what I call intentional ignorance. It seems that government ministers that are trying to promote the telecommunications industry and governments, and it's not difficult in our country, the UK, to find a school where if every child has their own Wi-Fi that they can walk around with, when the school inspectors come in, they get extra ticks in extra boxes.
Yeah.
And it's what I call intentional ignorance. They will only look at and believe the research they want to. They will not acknowledge most of the real research and most of the risks. And this is why I think we have this problem. There is such a pressure on advertising and hype to get this technology and then this technology and this technology. I can remember when I was a child, our king, the King of England, I can remember our king encouraging people to hold smoking parties because it was good for you.
Exactly.
We seem to be in that situation now. People believe that if you get the latest technology, it's going to benefit the children. At the current level, it's what I call blind corruption with intentional ignorance from senior people. People are being lied to, and money is being made at the expense of children and people becoming ill and dying. And that is all I've ever asked, is that people be given a say. The same with Wi-Fi in schools. We make the truth known to the parents. And we say, I could write the truth in 240 words, one side of A4. The industry or the governors write their side. The parents and the children read it and they have a vote. Do you want it? If they say, we want it and we want to take the risk, I don't have a problem with that. But when the truth is concealed and they are lied to, then I have a problem with it.